Okay, so last two classes have been kind of crash course on symmetric functions, and we defined the Schur function. First, we defined it as a sum over semi-standard tableau. So remember that a semi-standard tableau is a filling of the Young diagram with integers that are the positive integers which are increasing weakly along rows and strictly down columns. And we first showed that these are symmetric functions, and then another important an alternate definition, historically first definition was the Cauchy alternate formula. So it was a ratio of determinants. The denominator was the van der Monte determinant, so xi to the n minus j, and the numerator was the same thing with similar thing with xi to the power lambda j plus n minus j. Lambda is a partition with at most n parts. So this has the disadvantage of dealing only with finitely many variables, but it's nonetheless powerful and useful, and it's especially for us. Okay, and I also will need the notion of a principle of a specialization. So the principal specialization is when you set the variables to be consecutive powers of q. Okay, and I gave some examples. Okay, so now I want to prove yet another formula for Schur functions, which is going to be important for us. But no, it's not going to be so important, but it's another application of the LGV lemma. So I thought it was nice to give this as a proof. This can be taken also as a definition. So this is called the Jacobi-True identity. And this says that S lambda of x1 up to xn can be written as a determinant of h of lambda I plus j minus I of x1 up to xn. Okay, so let lambda be lambda 1 up to lambda k, where lambda 1 is greater than or equal to lambda 2, greater than or equal to lambda k, greater than 0. So the length of the partition lambda is k. Okay, and so I'm taking 1 less than or equal to j ij less than or equal to k. And I remind you, these are the complete homogeneous symmetric functions. So remember when we started talking about symmetric functions, the original simplistic ones, the monomials, elementary symmetric functions, complete ones, and power sums, we said something about how one can express one family in terms of the others. And this is a natural and elegant expression for the Schur functions in terms of the complete homogeneity. But notice this involves products also. So it's not. I mean this involves the full algebra of symmetric functions. It's not just a linear combination. And these are HIs. I mean HNs. So each one of these. So when you expand these this out in using the Leibniz expansion, each expression is some h lambda for some lambda or h mu, because each product will give you a partition by the definition. Is that clear? Okay. So please ask if there are any questions. So as I said, this can be taken also as a definition of Schur functions. So yet another definition. So this is, so we'll, I mean, there are many proofs. We'll give an LGV proof. So proof by using 187. Okay, so we'll start with the semi-standard Tableau definition, and we'll express. So we will express each NILP. Sorry, each SSYT of lambda with entries in 1 through n as a system of n. Okay, so let me first describe what the starting and ending points are, or let me describe the family and then I'll give you an example of it. So starting points Si is 1 comma k minus I. So remember, we have two parameters, k, which is the length of the partition. So I'll define this k, and n, which is the number of variables. Ending points or endpoints Ej, let's say this is n comma k plus lambda j minus j, and we use as usual upright steps. Okay. Now I mean, this is clearly not just a count. This has some, I mean, this is a generating function of something. So we need to give weights. So the weights of horizontal edges weight of each horizontal edge is 1, so nothing happens there. The weight of the vertical edge in column J is x. The weight of each vertical edge in column J is x. Okay, so let's give an example. Let me use my graph. So example. So let's say lambda is a 5, 4, 3, 3, 1, and let me take the tableau, which is 1, 1, 2, 4, 5. So it's weakly increasing along rows, strictly increasing down columns. 2, 3, 3, 5, 4. So I should have said. So k is 5. So length is 5, and let me take n to be 6. So I'm going to fill it with the entries which are less than or equal to 6. 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 6. So you see it's strictly decreasing down. Okay, so now let me draw the corresponding non-intersecting lattice path. So okay, I have to make it fairly long because I have to go up to height 9. Okay, so maybe okay. So these are my x and this is not my x-axis, but this is not my y-axis. This is the line x equal to, and so let me not write that because there's x1 also again. So let me mark this point. This is 1, 0, and I have so x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, 6, and n is 6. So remember the horizontal the starting points are in the line x equal to 1, and the ending points are in the line x equal to n. So let me also mark those points. Okay, so what is my S1? This is remember that I and j run from 1 to k. Okay, so back here. So my first point is at 1 comma k, which is 5, 5 minus 1, so that's 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's that. So this is S5, and then it continues S4, S3, S2, and this is S1. Okay, so these are my starting points. Let's see what the ending points are. So let's see where is E. Oops, sorry, that was wrong. I was going downward. So this is S1, S2, S3 remains the same. S4, and this is actually a mistake. This is S5. Okay, so where is E1 now? So E1 is at height, which is 5 plus lambda 1, which is 5 minus 1, which is 9. So this was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is E1. Then E2 is so 5 plus 4, which is 9 minus 2, 7. So this is E2, and then E3 is 5 plus 3, 8 minus 3, so that's 5. Then E4 is 5 plus 3 minus 4, so that's 4. And E5 is 5 plus 1 minus 5, so that is 1. Okay, so is it clear? So I should go to EI, and well, so I claim that every tableau is indexed by, has is in bijection with a non-intersecting family of lattice paths, where SI goes to EI. So let me show you how this goes. So what you want to do is let's see. So let's see what S1 is. So you want to make sure that the, let's say, let me start from the left. So the, let's say, kth, no, I can't use k. Let's say the ith, uh, how should I say? Maybe it's better if I do it first. So what I want is to mark the positions of the vertical edges uh, according to these numbers. So what this says is that there are two vertical edges in the line x equal to 1. There's one vertical edge at line x equal to 2, one at x equal to 4, and one at x equal to 5. And I'll fill the rest of the path accordingly. So I'll first have two vertical edges at line x equal to 1. Then I go to the one vertical edge at line x equal to 2, one at x equal to 4, and one at x equal to 5. And then the remainder I fill. I mean, I don't have choices. Okay, so these, okay, so let me do x2. So the second part, so there's one vertical line at x equal to 2, 2 at x equal to 3, 1 at x equal to 5. And I fill in the rest. And similarly, for S3, there's 3 vertical lines at x equal to 4. So let me start here. And for S4, there's one at line at x equal to 5, and 2 at x equal to 6. And for the last one, there's only one vertical edge, and it's in line. Okay, so you see, you get a non-intersecting lattice path, and you see that this is engineered so that you'll run into trouble if you don't have strict decrease along corners. Okay, so for example, if this were a 1, then this would go vertically and you would intersect over here at S1. And for example, if I don't know, if this were a 4, then I would have 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, and this would intersect. Okay, so it requires some checking, but this is the key idea. Any questions about this construction? It's similar to things that we have done before. Okay, so this is a bijection. So now, okay, so let's see what the weight is. So the weight of T is x1 squared. Remember, you take the x to the t. X to the t was x1 to the number of 1s, which is 2, x2 to the number of 2s, which is also 2, x3 to the number of 3s, also 2, x4 to the number of 4s, which is 4, x5 cube, and x6. And if you see over here, you will find the same weight. So this path has weight x6, this path has weight x5, x6 squared, and so on, x4 cubed, and so on. So you get exactly the same. This is equal to the weight of the. So this is a bijection, I claim. So there's some checking to do, but modular that is. This should be convincing. Okay. All right. So if you agree, so by this bijection, so and LGB lemma, we get that S lambda of x1 up to xn is the determinant of the generating function of paths from Si to Ej one less than equal to k. So all that remains to do is to compute the weighted sum of paths from Si to Ej. So remember again, this is Si and this is Ej. So Si has Si consists of how many up steps? So you have k minus I, you start at k minus I, you end at k plus lambda j minus j. So you have the difference of the two, so you get lambda j minus j plus I consists of lambda j minus j plus I up steps. Okay, so each up step has some weight, some xm, say, and so and you have to take so many steps in each path. So the weight of each path, oh, not Si. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? The path from Si to Ej. So the weight of any path, any such path, has total degree lambda j minus j plus I, right? Okay, but so what can you say about any such path? Is there any restriction on where these vertical edges need to be when you go from Si to Ej? Can they all be in the first column, for example? Remember, we are just considering one single path. I mean, we are not talking about any non-intersecting blah blah. This is just a single path from Si to Ej. So is there any restriction? I mean, can you have all of them in the first column or second or whatever?
Yeah, that's possible, right?
Yeah, it's totally possible. So what can you say about this weighted sum?
It's a symmetric function.
Why is it a symmetric function? Correct.
Because like we discussed that it doesn't matter where the up steps are taken, at x2 or at x3 or at x4.
Yes, but how do you see that you get so for example if you interchange xi and xj, how do you see that you get
Right, so we take the number of up steps at xi and put it at xj, and take the number of up steps at xj and put it at xi, and we
Right.
still get a valid path.
Exactly. Okay, very good. So what is the, yeah, so what kind of symmetric function do you get now? So, okay, very good. So as you argued, moreover, the sum of the weights yeah, but what kind of symmetric function is it? Is a symmetric function of x1 up to xn. Okay. So if I take any monomial x1 to the n1, x2 to the n2, etc., in how many, what's the coefficient of that monomial? I mean a valid monomial.
The monomial determines the path completely.
Yes. So yes,
So
exactly.
that's
So the mono,
that's
so the
one.
exactly. So the coefficient is 1. Okay, so it has coefficient is 1. So every monomial occurs once. It's a symmetric function. It has total degree this, and there is no restriction. So what kind of symmetric function is it? Okay.
I think it's the complete
Right.
homogeneous function, right?
Yes. So so in addition, let's say every monomial has coefficient 1, I mean valid monomial, of course. And there is no restriction. On the kinds of monomials. Allowed. So, so the weight of Si to Ej is the complete symmetric function lambda j minus a plus I of S. And which is what we wanted. This is what this is. Lambda j. Well, okay, I mixed up I and j, but it's the same thing. I mean, I can say lambda j plus, okay, lambda j plus I minus. Okay, I just took the transpose. Okay, so which is what we wanted to put. Okay, so I can show you on stage. So I already defined symmetric functions, and okay, so now let's take some lambda, let's say equals partition. Let's take our example partition, which was 2, 1, and let's take you can take 3 variables, let's say n plus 3, and so la dot expand 3. Sorry. Oh, sorry. S of la. Okay, so this was the example we saw in class, and now let's take the determinant of h of what was it? Lambda j, law of j plus I minus j. I have to make the matrix. So matrix for I in range 2, for j in range 2. So I do dot expand 2. Okay, maybe it's better for me to first check what this matrix looks like. So, okay, something went wrong. What went wrong? So, expand I should have done.
It needs another round bracket at the end, I think.
Did I miss one?
No, I mean the one after matrix that didn't close.
Matrix. Thank you. Yes. Okay, here is this matrix. So it's a bit too long, but what is happening? There should be a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so where is the this is a single term. Is there something here? Maybe there's a 0 here. So let's see. So h of so there is a slight issue because I and j run from 0 to 2 in Sage instead of 1. I mean 0 to 1.
There are two terms here. The term breaks off at x2 part 2, I think.
Here, yes, thank you. Yes, so this is the first term. Yeah, I was about to say that it doesn't matter. The indexing doesn't matter because you have I minus j. So it's okay. So let me put that back in. So I have. So this is for the matrix and this is for the determinant. Okay. I should have done m, and I get the same. Okay. You can change the partition if you like. And okay, I can do something larger. So 4, 3, total 1, and 3, mass. Check. Something went wrong.
You have to change 2 to 3, right?
Yeah, I should change. So maybe I should have done k equals this is a lot of length. That should be k. Oops. K is 3. What is going on now? Why is it saying -1? Okay. Okay, good. So the problem is that I have to say that this I take to be 0 if this guy inside is less than 0. That's the problem. So, okay. If j plus I minus j is going to be equal to 0, else, and this is Python shorthand for writing a conditional in one line. So you say whatever you want if this, else this. Okay. Okay, so now it should be clear that these two are the same. This underscore means last component, which is this last evaluation. Okay, all right. So it all works nicely. Any questions? Okay, so good. So remember, we are trying to prove McMahon's formula. So before that, let me show you how Schur functions can also be used to give another proof of the box formula. And we'll generalize this idea to prove McMahon's formula, McMahon's conjecture. Okay, so look at the previous tableau, this one. Instead of writing the tableau using numbers, we will write it using variables. So the things that we are going to multiply. So instead of writing 1, 1, 2, 4, 5, we'll write x1, x1, x2, x1, like that. So consider the previous example, previous tableau. And write the entries symbolically as so x1, x1, x2, x4, x5, x2, x3, x3, x5, x4, 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 x3, x5, x6, x6, and x6. So this was the tableau. Now, by choosing x, let's say xi equals q power something, some number here, appropriately, we can get plane partitions. In a natural way. So how do we do that? So for example, in this example again, for example, set x1 to be q power 6, x2 to be q power 5, and so on up to x6 equals q power 1 to get what do we get? So if you just so instead of writing q power 6, I'll just write 6 and so on. So we get what? We get this 6, 6, 5, 3, 2, 5, 4, 4, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, and 1. You see? So choosing variables in this way, I can convert a semi-standard tableau which had this increasing conditions to a plane partition which has decreasing conditions. But I claim that this correspondence as of now is not bijective. Can you see why? Did you see? Can someone answer that? Why is this not valid?
We are like strictly decreasing in the columns, which need not be the case, right? For plane
Exactly.
partitions.
Exactly. Right. So because these were strictly increasing along columns, now you're going to get strict decrease along columns. And so these are things that we have already seen before. So let me just write what Mohit just said. So, but we do not get all plane partitions this way. We instead get what we had called co-SPPs, column strict plane partitions. So we didn't call them CSPPs because CSPPs were cyclically separate. So this is co-S stands for column strict. So what we want to do is to somehow get a bijection between certain class of semi-standard tableau and weight preserving bijection and all plane partitions, and this does not do it, but this is kind of fixed easily. So, or not trivially, but without too much difficulty. So suppose lambda is B power A, so it's the rectangular partition, which is B this way and A this way. All parts are B. Then if we remove A plus 1 minus I from the ith row, we get a plane partition. So suppose we are looking at a at semi-standard tableau of a rectangular shape like so, and you remove 1 from the ath row, 2 from the A minus 1th row, and so on, all the way up to A from the first row, then you will necessarily, you will get a plane partition, and this part, this is now reversible. And this process is reversible. And this lambda and T is a, let's say we start and SSYT T of shape lambda. So this is it. Right. So you see, for example, you can get the empty plane partition also this way. If it were if the plane partition were A, if the semi-standard tableau were over here were ones, twos, threes, fours, all the way up to A, then when you do this kind of operation, you will get A minus 1 all the way up to 1, and then when you subtract, you will get the plane partition. Right? So, so to evaluate, Oh, the other thing I should have emphasized is that this is weight preserving. So the weight of this plane partition is the sum of the entries. And so, when you take the generating function, you take q power the sum of the entries, which is the product of all these xi's. So the the uh, the weight of this semi-standard tableau, which is the product of these xi's, when you upon this specialization, this is actually a kind of principal specialization, is exactly going to give you q raised to the power, the weight of this plane, which is what you want. Okay. So thus the generating function of let me see. So yeah, let me write that also. So the weight of this this co-SPP is the sum of the entries and q power the sum is equal to the product of the x's, which is the weight of the SS. Okay, so this bijection that we now have is weight preserving, and so the generating function of plane partitions inside an A by B by C box, which is what the box formula asks us to evaluate, is given by is given by the Schur function S of B power A, this Schur function, we have to go up to height, so now let's see what we have to do. So we have to go a bit too high, because we'll get a co-SPP, and then we have to subtract entries, right? So so the number of variables that we will need is actually A plus C. In A plus C variables, by setting x1 equals q to the A plus C all the way up to x A plus C minus 1 is q squared, and x A plus C is q. And the reason for doing that is that we will subtract, then we have to, so this will give you column strict plane partitions inside an A by B by C box with height A plus C. I mean inside okay, so let me re-say that. This will give you the generating function of column strict plane partitions inside an A by B by A plus C box. Okay, and to which we multiply what? So we have to multiply q to the minus 1 b times. So to which we multiply q to the minus 1 times b for the bottom column, because each of those we are reducing the height by 1. So you have q inverse b times, and then for the second row from bottom, you will have you are multiplying by q to the minus 2 b times, and so on, minus up to minus a times b, which is q to the minus b times a plus 1 by 2. Okay, so the end of the day, we need to evaluate q to the minus b a plus 1 by 2 times s of b to the a. We need a plus c variables. So if you like, yes, so we have a variables and c zeros, and q to the a plus c, q to the a plus c minus 1, all the way up to q squared. Okay, this can be done using Cauchy's alternate, or maybe let's say using the alternate. So ratio of determinants. Yes, question? Okay, so this is another way of getting the box formula. So this is something you can try. And I should also note that this is a principal specialization. So remember, principal specialization was, so principal specialization is you set 1 q squared up to whatever q to the n minus 1. So this is, we are doing, well, first of all, we are doing it in the other way, but that doesn't matter because it's a symmetric function. But more importantly, this is a homogeneous function. Okay, so when you write it this way, you will get you know exactly what extra power of q you will get per term. Okay, so this is some some power of q, which is explicit, times the same short function at 1 q squared, etc., up to q to the a plus c. It's the same thing. I mean, it's just so. Oh. So this is a principal specialization. It really is. I mean, it's not anything different. Okay, so so this gives another proof, and let me give you. Okay, so I was going to do an example, but maybe. Okay, let me just say this. So when you take the example of a equals b equals c equals 2, then let me show you what you get. So s. So what we want is then s of 2 2. So we want q to the what? Q to the minus 2 times 2 times 3 by 2, so minus 6. S of 2 evaluated at, so now we have 4 variables. So a plus c is 2, so you want q to the 4, q cubed, q squared, q. So let's see how to do it in stage. So if I do S22, that's okay. Now I need 4 variables. So let's find 4 variables. Okay, it's a mess. Actually, let me see. Sorry. What happened? So S22 is F. F dot. Okay, so it does do principal specialization. Q squared divided by. Okay, it's bizarre. Okay, let's just do it in the boring way. So if you want to substitute variables, there's this you use the command substitute, and let's say so x0 equals q. Let's just see what that does. No, it doesn't. Okay, so let's say var q. X1 equals q squared. So you should not use the power symbol, the caret, because Sage gets confused, because it thinks it's the XOR operator, and x3 is q over 4. Okay, we have that, and now let's factor that expression, and we get this. So let's write that. So this is equal to q to the minus 6 times, what do we have? We have a q power 6, that's good news. 1 plus q squared whole squared, and 1 plus q plus up to q power 4. So this cancels, as it should, because you know that the empty plane partition has weight 1. So there should be no trailing powers of q. And therefore, as when you set q goes to 1, we get 20, 2 squared times 5, which we have seen before. Okay. All right. So the Schur. So here you should really interpret the Schur function as 2200 if you want, and in 4 variables. Okay. All right. So any questions? So I'm now going to move to proving McMahon's formula for the number of symmetric plane partitions inside an A by C box. Okay, so we now want to prove McMahon's conjecture for SPPs, symmetric plane partitions in an A by C box. Okay, so we'll need 2 lemmas. The first expresses things in terms of symmetric functions, or rather Schur functions. So let me state the lemma. So sum over pi SPP pi inside a by b by c q to the mod pi. This is what we want. This can be written as a sum over partitions lambda inside the C by a rectangle of S lambda of something, but this is no longer a principal specialization, it's something slightly more general. Q to the 2a minus 1, Q to the 2a minus 3, Q cubed, Q to the 1. Okay, so there are a variables, a terms. Okay, so so this is now genuinely not a principal specialization, because now the way there's the gaps of 2. And what complicates our life a little more is that your lambda sits inside C to the A. It's a sum over lambda. It's not a single Schur function, unlike the box formula. You've got an exact, one nice rectangular Schur function. Here you have something much more complicated. So we'll need a little more technology, and I have shamelessly stolen figures from Bresswood's book to illustrate the idea of the proof. So proof. So we will prove a bijective. So we will prove that. Okay, let me write it in short. I should have made the figure smaller. Okay, no. So SPPs of an integer n in a by c are in one-to-one correspondence with column strict plane partitions of n again with odd heights inside a by c by 2a minus 1. Okay, and the idea is given by this figure. Okay, so here is a symmetric plane partition. So this is an SPP. Okay, n is fixed. Okay, so for each n, and this will respect the total size. So the figure illustrates what is going on. So each row, so the idea, so decompose an SPP into levels which are subsets at the same height as the figure illustrates. So these are the levels. So this is the top level, the next level, this is the same, and then this level below, and this level below. Okay, so this is a decomposition of the plane partition. So that's the first step. Further, so that's step 1, that's shown over here. So let me put an arrow. Further, so okay, now each level is symmetric, right? Because it's because the plane partition is symmetric. So since each level is symmetric, further decompose them into hook shapes. So if you remember what we proved for the hook length formula, each of these is a hook. So each of these you can think of as a partition, a symmetric or self-conjugate partition. And so partition like, whatever this is, so for example, okay, I don't have to do. So this is the part, you can think of this as, it's the partition, what is it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe that's too simple. So this is 3, 3, 2. You decompose it into a hook. So this over here, hook of sizes, hooks of size 5 and 3. Right? So this is the 5 hook, the outer hook, and then the inner hook. This is, I think this was used in one of the homework problems to find the generating function or something. Okay. Was it the homework of finding self-conjugate? Yeah, this was finding generating function of self-conjugate partitions inside A by B box. So this idea was used there, and it's the same. Okay. So into hooks. Okay. And now you can see that because of the symmetry of each level, each hook well, okay, let's see. So the hook lengths are odd, and strictly decreasing in each level. Okay, so I mean, they cannot be of the same. It cannot be weakly decreasing, because otherwise there will be overlaps. It will not be a partition shape. Okay, so they are strictly decreasing, and each of them is odd, just to preserve the symmetry. Okay, so now let's summarize. So to summarize, each hook contains at most how many boxes? So this is A in this direction, C upstairs. So each hook can have at most length 2A minus 1 boxes. There are at most A hooks per level, right? Because this is A by A at each level. So if you decompose into hooks, the maximum will happen if the entire square is full, and then the last cell would be the singleton A hook. I mean singleton hook of length 1, which is at position A comma A, which is in this corner. Right. So there are at most A hooks per level, and how many levels are there? The height is at most C, so you have and at most C levels. So each odd hook, let's say. So just to remind you that each hook is odd. Okay. So now reassemble according to this, as shown here. Now reassemble the hooks into columns. Such that the ith stack in the jth column is equal to the ith hook at the jth level. See figure. So okay, let's see what we have done. So let's start from the bottom. So this was a 9 hook, a 5 hook, and a 1 hook. These are strictly decreasing, so you arrange them in that column like that, 9, 5, 1. Then you have a 3 hook, a 5 hook, and a 3 hook. So that's a 5 hook and a 3 hook. And then you have a single hook, which is 3, which is over there. And then you have another single hook, which is 3. Okay, so what you end up, so we end up with a co-SPP, right? There is no restriction, I mean, there's only a weak restriction along rows, as you see in this example, because two levels can be the same. But there is strict decrease along columns. Okay, so we end up with a co-SPP in an A by C by 2A minus 1 box, right, where each column, where each entry is odd. Right? So each of these heights is odd, each non-zero height is. Okay, so you have, and this process is reversible. And weight preserving. This is weight preserving because the number of boxes is the same. We have not changed the number of boxes in this entire process. Any questions about this? So as I said, this is shamelessly borrowed from Rasool's book. So you can, I mean, you can see this example over there also. Okay. Okay, now what do we do? So we have ended up with a co-SPP. Okay. But now I claim that these are in bijection with semi-standard doublet. But such co-SPPs, the set of such co-SPPs is in bijection, not weight preserving, with SSYTs inside inside C power A. And how do you go there? So look at the set of non-zero entries. So if I write this as a co-SPP, so what did I say? So I have 9, 5, 1 over here, 5, 3 over here, 3 and 3, right? This is what this is. So this has shape 4 to 1, and what you do is this, if I look at any such co-SPP which sits inside an A by C by 2m minus 1 box, I write it in this tableau form, and I'll reduce 1 and divide by 2, or maybe no, then I'll get 0. No, I have to add 1 and divide by 2, because I don't want to make this a 0, because there are already zeros hanging around. So so we simply add 1 to each entry, and divide by 2 to get an SSYT inside an A by C by A box, because the largest entry that you will get in this process will be, the largest entry is 2A minus 1, you add 1 divided by 2, you get A, right? And because we know that all the non-zero entries are odd, you're going to get an SSYT inside an A by C by A box. So the partition that you get is not necessarily C to the A, but it lives inside C to the A. Okay, that's the idea. So then, by the same kind of bijection, we had in the second proof, or the second incomplete, let's say, proof of the box formula, the generating function of such co-SPPs is the sum over all lambda inside C to the A, S lambda of Q to the A, sorry, Q to the 2A minus 1 to QQ. Okay, that proves it. So basically, you take partitions inside C by A, and you want odd heights, so you just put consecutive odd heights, and that's basically going to be the answer. Any questions? So let me do an example just to illustrate this point. Illustrate this idea. So again, let me take A equals C equals 2, this kind of simplest example. Okay, so I want lambda, therefore, sitting inside the 2 by 2 box, which is this. Right? So we want all partitions sitting inside it, and we want how many variables? We want A variables. So we want to evaluate. So for, and we want S lambda of Q and Q cubed. 2m, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let me tabulate. Maybe see if Sage will do it quickly. So I think we had partitions in box, right? Yeah, good. So partitions in box 2, 2. Okay, so S of La for La in partitions of box 2, 2. Okay, these are the 5. Oops. And now I want to expand in 2 variables. These are the 2 variables. And further, I want to do this kind of substitution. So let me just copy paste this. And I want Q and Q cubed. Okay, so let me tabulate this. So, so let me make a table. So here is lambda, and here is S lambda at Q cubed. So the empty partition, it's 1. Maybe I will make a tuple just to help us. So empty partition is 1. For the partition 1, I get Q plus Q cubed. For the partition 1, 1, I get Q to the 4. For the partition 2, I get 3 entries. This is Q to the 6 plus Q to the 4 plus Q squared. That's that. For the partition 2, 1, I get Q to the 5 plus Q to the 7. And now you can see the symmetry. And for 2, 2, I will only get Q to the 8. Okay, and now let us see the corresponding co-SPPs. So co-SPPs in 2 by 2 by 3. A by C by 2A minus 1. So let me write all of them with their weights. So odd co-SPPs. So remember, each non-zero part should be odd and the height can be at most 3. Okay. So first we have 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So let's first take with one non-zero part. So then 3, 0, 0, 0. Okay. And then I'll take, just because I know the answer, I will I'll choose conveniently. So then I'll take 3, 0, 1, 0. And right, so this is, it's column strict. I cannot put a 3. And then I have, let's see, so I want those 3 guys. Okay, so then I take 1, 1, 0, 0, 3, 1, 0, 0, and 3, 3, 0, 0. And then I'll take 3, 1, 1, 0, 3, 3, 1, 0, and finally 3, 3, 1, 1. For all non-zero, this is the one. Okay, so let's see the weights. So this is Q to the 0, which is 1. So let's say 8. Q to the 0, which is 1. And this is Q to the 1, Q cubed, Q to the 4, Q squared, Q to the 4, Q to the 6, and Q to the 5, Q to the 7, and 8. And here let me write the partition. So this is the empty partition. We look at the non-zero entries. I won't say lambda everything. So this is the empty partition. In these two there is one non-zero entry. So this is the partition 1. This is the partition 1, 1. These three are the partition 0 to 2. These two are the partition 2, 1. And this is the partition 2, 2. And you can see that the weights match exactly. So this corresponds to the partition 1. Q plus Q cube is partition, the empty partition. This is Q plus Q cube is partition 1, Q squared, Q4, Q6 is the partition 2, Q4 is the partition 1, etc. Okay, so this gives the sum. Okay, and so I hope that illustrates the idea. Any questions? And you can write the corresponding semi-standard tableau by just replacing 3 by 2 and 1 by 1. So that's so all of these are the semi-standard tableau sitting inside the 2 by 2 box with height at most 2. Okay, so this is the first part of the proof. This proves the lemma. This illustrates the lemma rather. And okay, but now what do we do? So earlier we had a sure function, and so that was when you do a specialization, you are expecting a nice product formula. But now this is a mess. This is a huge sum. There's exponentially many if C and A are large, and so what the hell do you do? And so just to illustrate this example, so let me, instead of taking let me take the sum over these guys. Something is not right. And now if I so this was what we obtained. So now if I factor this, lo and behold, you still have unexpectedly nice product formula. And maybe if I show you more examples. What happened there? What was that? Got the same. That's strange. Okay, because I'm doing it. I should do the other one. Okay, now so let's take a larger example again with 2 variables, and again there's something. Okay, so you can see. Let me do one last example, and it's 2 to the 5, and you have to expand in 3 variables, and lo and behold, there's still something that's going on, and so we will explain that in the next class. So that's the second lemma needed to complete it. Okay, any questions? You can state it, but it's better to do it from start to the next class. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll stop recording.